good?
Yep.
Well, you know, it's a difficult decision, and you know, based on Steven coming here and what we've seen out of Jemile this year, we felt like this was the right thing to do for him and for the organization. Now, having said that, we still think Jemile has a terrific career ahead of him. And this will give him the opportunity to go down there and work on some things without the everyday pressures that you get at the big league level. You know, once you go through a season where you continue to struggle some, it can weigh on you, and certainly mentally and physically, and hasn't performed to the level that we've gotten used to seeing him last year. But that doesn't mean that he won't have the type of career that we expect him to have in this organization and that he expects himself to have. So, you know, sometimes these things can be a blessing in disguise, and you know, in my opinion, he still has a heck of a career ahead of him.
Any specific thing you wanted to work down there?
Well, I think a little bit of everything. You know, he's got to get on base a little bit more, and you know, just work on everything. Really, it just when you have to look up there and see your average for a guy that hit 300 last year, and you know, a lot is expected of you, and he expects a lot of yourself. It's difficult every day to try to get through it, and the more you go, you know, each and every day, it kind of grinds on you a little bit more and more, and now you have some doubts or whatever. He's not that type of kid, but again, I think this is just kind of a blip in his career, and that he will be back and he will do very well. But he's going to work on everything, you know, whether it's his base running, whether it's his defense, and whether it's his offense.
You see him coming back when rosters expand?
You know, that's tough to say. You can't guarantee anything to anybody in this game. But I do think he still has a lot of Major League Baseball left ahead of him.
What's the plan at second base then?
Penny and Rosie right now. You know, we'll probably do a little bit of a platoon left-right. You know, today we'll let Penny get his legs underneath him and work him over there during pregame and so forth, and then good chance he'll be in the lineup tomorrow.
You know Stephen Drew so much. What are some of the things that he brings to this team?
Well, he helps the team all the way around. I know he's had some struggles this year, at least, you know, on the surface looking at the numbers, but I've seen this guy be an all-around player in that he can defend. You know, he swings the bat well, he drives the ball, he knocks in runs. He's a guy that you can move around in the lineup. You know, in talking to him late last night, he really felt like he's starting to swing the bat really well and is kind of hitting some tough luck here recently. So he's one of the shortstops around the league that everybody looks at and says this guy can be an impact guy, not only offensively but defensively as well.
Pennington struggled like Jemile for most of the year. Why Jemile and not Pennington? Was there?
This is just the decision we made.
Yeah. Why are you convinced Penny can play second base?
Because we just think that he can. He has a little bit before in the past, and you know, he's a good middle of the diamond defender. And I think the one variable that that he's not used to is turning the double play on the other side, even though we do shift quite a bit and he is over on that side. But he takes ground balls every day, and he'll turn double plays based on who's taking ground balls at shortstop. And we think that he has the defensive ability to pull that off.
What's his future? Is he shortstop or second baseman?
I couldn't tell you that right now. I think he would probably say that he's still a shortstop, and I would want him to think that way. But right now his opportunity is at second base, and talking to him today, he understands that. He's going to work as hard as he can to be a very good second baseman.
With Seth Smith back, you going to use the same kind of situation you had before, like a platoon in there? And
well, we got, with Steven here now, and then Moss and Seth, we'll move it around. We'll play some matchups, even with Chris. We might give Chris a day off and play both of the lefties. Other days, we'll use Chris against right-handers too. So we have some depth now, certainly with Smitty back. He gives us a nice bat against right-handed pitching, whether he's driving in runs or he's getting on base.
Ford said that they'd been keeping an eye on Drew for a while. How much did they kind of come to you and Chip Hale as guys that have kind of had experience with him and seek counsel on it?
Right. Well, we talked a little bit about him right around the trade deadline, and Chip's even been with him a little longer than I have. I've had him just at the big league level. I think Chip had him in the minor leagues a little bit too. So they used our input definitely on him.
Norberto on the deal.
Yeah, he started experiencing some shoulder soreness. I think it was in Kansas City. Was pitching through it. Then the other day, I think it was, he had a 1+ outing that he felt it again. He performed well, but he felt it again. We gave him a couple days off. He went out and started playing catch yesterday and could still feel it. So he's an important piece for us, and we want to make sure he's healthy. Therefore, we put him on the DL with retro back to the last time we pitched.
It's kind of similar to the last time he on the DL the shoulder earlier as well.
Right. Same type thing. Yeah.
Bob, for Brett tonight, what kind of pitch count limit is he on?
I don't know if it's a pitch count limit. We got him up to, right around 100 pitches, which, we are with basically all our pitchers. So I don't think there's any limitations. He's not going to throw 130 pitches tonight, but nobody will for us at this point. Based on where we are in the season and where we are in the standings and the importance of each and every game, he wouldn't be out there if we felt like we had to put some sort of strict limit on him where it was 80 pitches or something like that. Part of the whole rehab process was to get him back to where he was able to go out there and compete in a game like he would any other time.
If Drew hits as he did in Arizona, it wouldn't be much of an upgrade. But are you thinking through video? I mean, have you caught something in the swing? What makes you believe that?
No, I think he's been. I think it's been basically a year now since he had his injury, and our scouts have told us they haven't seen anything that would suggest the mobility's not there. And he's 29 years old. Our feeling is he's just going through a little rough period offensively after coming back from that injury in the middle of the season, something he hasn't had to do before. So we feel like he will be better offensively than the numbers would suggest at this point.
Are you a big believer in the power of fresh starts? As far as a guy,
yeah,
I
am. You talking about Steven?
Right.
He's a very talented guy. I don't know if you've ever seen him play before. This was a first-round pick that has done some really good things, and had 40 doubles and knocked in over 60 runs, hitting at the top of the lineup, and double-digit home runs. So it's not like this guy hasn't done it before, and he's still 29 years old. I know there were some things that he had to work through in Arizona. Some things said this year about the process of him coming back, and maybe that was weighing on him a little bit. I don't know. But I think a lot of times a fresh start and a change of scenery is exactly what some guys need. I mean, look what Brandon Inge did when he got here, after having some struggles in Detroit. So we still think he's young enough and athletic enough to get back to his earlier form. It just depends. We had some success with Smitty against right-handers with Smitty up there too, based on his on-base percentage. So we'll see where it goes. But he can hit up there. He can lead off. He can, which we don't need right now with Coco. But he can also hit down in the lineup and drive in some runs. So he's a versatile guy as far as where he hits in the order.
You guys didn't do much of the trade deadline. Do you see this as kind of a way to boost it, not just the club, but kind of the guys, let them know, hey, management is trying?
Sure. I think anytime you make a trade and bring somebody in the midst of where we are in the season, that it's a boost. Now, we certainly weren't going to mortgage where we were and the wealth of talent that we had in this organization. At the trade deadline, we just didn't feel like with the deals we were looking at, at that time were worth it, because we were having success here. It was a good group, chemistry-wise and so forth in the clubhouse, and so you take all those things into consideration, and you want to make sure this thing goes on for a while too. But when this came up again, and Billy, talked to Kevin about this at this point in time, it seemed like it made more sense with the names that we were talking about at this point.
How did Weeks take it? Was it just you?
Yeah, and he was actually really good about it. I expect him to be more shocked, but he was very realistic about where he's been this season, and he knows that this is just going to be a challenge for him. And you get humbled a little bit because this is a guy that we had high expectations for and still have high expectations for. And he's going to put this aside. He's going to go down there and work like he does. The one thing about him is he plays very hard for us, and we appreciate that. So he understands what's going on, and he expects to go down there and do well and be back sooner than later.
Good.
All right.